So we're going to start with an agreement for sale. And what we're going to do, and what our two speakers have offered to do, which is really exciting, is we're going to actually go into a live deal, and we are lucky enough to have the agreement for sale buyer and the agreement for sale vendor who are going to have a conversation with each other that I'm going to ask some questions to keep the conversation going. So the really cool part about this is, number one, this is a testament to the fact that agreement for sale is truly a win-win. If this deal didn't go silky smooth and everybody was happy and everybody felt like they got a win, these two wouldn't be willing to sit here in front of the Mogul community and have a conversation about it. So that right there is the proof in the pudding that this was a great deal for everybody and everybody feels like they got a win. The other cool part is, you know, a lot of us are looking for deals from the mindset of the investor, the person trying to get the agreement for sale. Well, we're going to get insight into both sides of the deal. Why would somebody want to pursue an agreement for sale? Why would somebody want to offer an agreement for sale? And what's that all about? So there we go. So the agreement for sale vendor is our very own Wayne Hillier, the real estate investor dad himself. So love Wayne. Awesome guy, awesome podcast. If you haven't listened to his podcast, I would highly recommend you do, because I hear one of his upcoming guests is interesting, engaging, and one heck of a speaker. Just toot my own horn there, everybody. I'm going to be on his podcast right away. And he also owns Prairie Home Investments. So he's got an awesome portfolio with his wife. And our very own mogul, Gabby and Wayne just did an awesome agreement for sale. They did the deal together. Wayne was the vendor. Jen, can we spotlight maybe Wayne, please? We got Keaton spotlighted still. Perfect. There he is, front row center. So Wayne, we're going to have this conversation with you and Gabriela from the Mogul team. So I think you might, Wayne, can you just say a quick hello? I think you might be on mute.
Hi.
There we go. And yeah. Gabby, where are you?
I am here.
Okay, so if you guys want to use your speaker view to get Gabby there too as well. So Wayne, I did my best to introduce you, but why don't you give us a quick introduction to yourself as well?
You did a pretty good job. I'm a dad. I'm an investor. I like creative real estate. I love agreement for sales. I've been investing for 7 years.
Awesome. And Gabby, why don't you give us a quick introduction? You're on mute as well. There we go.
There you go. Well, my name's Gabby, and I'm part of the Mogul team, and I've been in real estate now for about 2 years and a bit, and really have a passion for real estate and investing, and hence why I ended up jumping in this deal.
Awesome. So here's the thing about agreement for sale. We all kind of sort of know what it is, and everybody has their own definition of what an agreement for sale is. I mean, the definition is actually pretty tight when you get down to it, but everybody's got their own way of explaining it. So just so we can get a couple of different perspectives, the best way to learn is to hear things explained from a couple of different voices. So Gabby, why don't you give us a quick explanation of what an agreement for sale is, and I'm going to ask Wade the same question.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah, okay, good. Well, the quickest way how I would explain an agreement for sale would be basically is seller financing. I guess in the overall scope, that's pretty much it, without having to involve a bank, except for obviously by the end of the term that you get that agreement for sale for. And more often than not, that agreement for sale would also come with a down payment upfront.
Perfect. So before we get Wayne's definition, I'm actually going to extend that. So Gabby, the question I would have is, as a new realtor, you are an independent contractor. And as we know that when you start a commission sales position, it's a lot trickier to get a mortgage from the bank. So can you talk about why this agreement for sale opportunity came up and made sense for you?
Yeah, so one of the things that happened when I made the transition to full-time is that I actually had some money aside, and obviously being in real estate and being on a daily basis involved with investors and whatnot, I wanted to get going. But as more most of the mortgage lenders, they basically, because I just changed jobs and I'm on the commission based, I'm basically not their favorite person. So as with other investors, I'd say other people that might be interested in agreement for sales can also be investors that, you know, have maybe exceeded their lending capabilities, but still that does not mean that they don't have some money and liquidity to be played.
Exactly. So that's what made Gabby a perfect candidate. Okay, I'm going to bounce the question over to Wayne. So Wayne, why don't you give us your definition of the agreement for sale?
I should have a very good answer, but I for whatever reason I don't. It's a seller financing strategy where the seller keeps the mortgage and the title in their name, and the buyer gets to take possession of the property and close and change title at a later date. So there's obviously a list of benefits, like Gabriela was saying, for the buyer and the seller, and it's not just one particular way you can use it. You can use it in lots of different ways. Like in this example, where, you know, selling it actually makes sense as well. And I've used it for many different strategies.
Yeah. So let's talk about your perspective. You know, why did it make sense for you to extend seller financing to your purchaser?
For this deal?
Yeah.
For this deal, I purchased a property for a flip to add a secondary suite to it. And it was supposed to be a flip sale at the end of it, but some things happened. The renovation didn't go as planned. The finishing work wasn't, there were some things that, like, I wasn't quite happy with, and I didn't want to put it on the market and have my reputation, I didn't want my reputation to be affected by it. I mean, the work wasn't bad or anything. It was just some of the finishing work wasn't quite great. And the cost to repair it all wasn't really going to make sense. So initially, we were going to just refinance it and add it into our portfolio as a rental property. But then obviously Gabriela reached out, and we kind of thought about the idea of, hey, should we offer seller financing on this?
Awesome. So I'll ask you the question first. What process did you guys go through to determine the final buyout price for the agreement for sale? How did you guys come to that agreement?
We negotiated just like any other deal. I had a price that I wanted, and by giving her, you know, by her giving me that price, she wanted terms in exchange, right? So it was slightly more than maybe what we would have sold it for on the, you know, I'm on MLS, plus with realtor fees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we went back and forth and determined the value of the terms, and then we were able to establish a price based on that.
Okay, awesome. And so I'm going to bounce the question back to Gabby. Gabby, what were some of the terms that were important for you to make this deal make sense to you, that you negotiated for the deal?
Well, for me, I wanted to have full say over the property. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do in basically the agreement for selling all that was the opportunity to gain some equity on the property as I purchase the property, and obviously make some cash flow as part of it. So that was basically my two biggest motivators to go into this deal, and how I saw this as an opportunity specifically for the position that I was in.
Awesome. And the house has a basement suite, that's correct?
Yeah, it's a legal basement suite.
Nice. So, I mean, for where you are, it makes perfect sense to have that extra rental income coming in to help cover the costs. Yeah, no,
so far it's been awesome. It's actually been cash flowing quite well, and haven't really had any issues since I bought it, other than things that I wanted to do to the property. But it's been great, and it has given me the opportunity to try new strategies in real estate. I even tried, and some people know this, Airbnb on the unit. So it's it's been awesome so far.
Awesome. Now, can you Gabby, explain to us the process that you guys went through to determine what the monthly payment was going to be?
I will let Wayne talk about that.
All right, we'll bounce it back.
So the monthly payments, so there's multiple ways to structure an agreement for sale. There's classic ways, there's traditional ways. That's what I love about it, is because there's no one way to do it. I mean, there's guidelines to stay within, but you can set the terms however you want. So when you're dealing with low equity, no equity deals, you know, typically it's the underlying mortgage amount, you take over the existing payments, and the property taxes, insurance, etc. You can also do it in a way where you can almost, how do I do this without pen and paper or a whiteboard? You can also have it where it doesn't relate to, it has nothing to do with the underlying mortgage. You have almost like a second mortgage, a second loan. So, you know, in this example, I don't remember the figures exactly, but let's say, for example, it was $440,000 with $40,000 down. The outstanding amount is $400,000. We establish an interest rates, a term, amortization, and then spit out the payments in a normal mortgage calculator, and then that decides it. So there's multiple different ways you can do it, and so that's how we structured it. We determine the interest rate, the amortization, and everything else, and then.
Okay, and for the rest of the expenses, well, we're talking insurance and taxes. How does the insurance and the taxes work? Do those stay in your name, or are they in Gabby's name? How did you guys sort that out?
In my name, and then the payments are made to me.
Okay, perfect. So this is a flat monthly payment, and boom, you're ready to go.
And for insurance, we just we do the normal. Oh God, I wish Gabby was here. She knows better. Insurance is in Gabriela's name. Okay, insurance is in Gabriela's name. She's listening.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm like, okay.
I really should get.
Okay.
Do this?
So I can pitch it. Yeah, I am talking, right?
All right,
so
let's spotlight Gabby here.
yeah, in regards to the payments, yeah, I take over the insurance, so I pay that, and what I transfer to Wayne and Gabby, it's basically the what the taxes are and the mortgage payment. I take responsibility over the insurance payments, and basically how that got set up is Wayne basically is one of the he got added. Well, Wayne and Gabby got added as what you call it? I'm lacking the name here.
The primary
beneficiary.
Yeah, primary beneficiary. Just because he's the one on title, but obviously I have a caveat on title as well, so it's how that worked out.
And I'm just going to chime in, because for those of you who are getting slightly confused, Wayne's wife's name is actually Gabby as well. So there's two Gabbys in this equation. So there's a Gabby and Wayne, and then there's Gabby, who's on the screen right now.
Because why not make things complicated?
Yeah. So the last question I'm going to have before we open it up to questions is, Gabby, how did you find organizing the actual paperwork, and what was the paperwork like?
When you say paperwork, what exactly are you referring to?
I mean, like the contract between you and Wayne that governs the agreement.
Well, that's where the beauty of you know, Barry in the network comes in. So that's basically how we ended up setting up all that paperwork. Wayne was working with Barry, and I ended up working with another lawyer that was quite familiar with agreement for sales. And I think that's one of the key points to be mentioned is whenever you do an agreement for sale, you really need a lawyer that understands the whole process and what you're doing and what each person is basically going in for, so that they can advise you properly and will basically watch out for your own interest as seller and as the buyer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you know what? I appreciate it. I guess the last question I would have for you guys before we open up the question is, you know, do you guys, now that we're a year into this deal, are you guys still both feeling super happy? Like this has been a mutually beneficial win-win?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I was checking if I was on mute. Yeah, no, I have no complaints, as I was saying before. It's an awesome property, and it's portraying as I wanted it to work. So it's cash flowing, and it's doing what what I wanted it to do, and basically providing me with free leaving too. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Okay, guys, let's open it up to some questions from the audience. Let's get that chat window going, and if anybody has any questions about the deal, let's open it up there. Don't be shy. These guys are happy to answer questions.
Yeah, or by all means, if anyone has questions about just agreement for sales in general or anything that has to.
Ooh, good question.
Okay. So the first question, all right, they're rolling in. I love it. So Wayne, can you tell us again why it was an attractive option for you?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
The question is, can you please tell us why you felt like this option was attractive versus a straight sale?
Well, if I went to sell it, I'd be making less profit. And it was the way that we were looking at it, it wasn't going to be that much. And it was a really good deal. And I was, I'm a creative guy. I want to find ways to make it work. We looked at rent own first. It doesn't really work as a rent own property. AFS, it works. With Gabby's deposit, I was able to get almost all of my investment out. And then the money that's still left there in the equity is my profit. So yes, I don't get my profits right away, but I think the term is 3 years. I think it's 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in 3 years, I get my profits out.
Awesome.
And so I'm, I look at it, I can't remember what the equity is. Let's say it's $50,000 in equity. Sorry, $70,000 in equity. I could get $30,000 now, or I can get $70,000 in 3 years. Run the math. That's a great return on my money for just sitting there.
Awesome return. And yeah, that future buyout price wasn't possible at the time you set up the deal. So it's basically just deferring your profits till later.
Right. And when we started the renovation, the comparables were better at that time. And then I'm sure a lot of people, if you've done a secondary suite conversion, 6 months, 5 months later, your comparables might not be there anymore. So
market can shift.
You got to be able to have a plan B, a plan C, and this was a great alternative.
Okay, so the next question is, with the property in Wayne's name, does it continue? It's still basically on your borrowing load, Wayne. Yeah. So it does affect your future borrowing capability. The answer is yes for that one.
It is a negative part of it, but it's still reasonable.
Yeah. And so how are you guys sharing the equity pay down?
It's completely separate. So I have my underlying mortgage and she has her mortgage with me, and they're both going down at their own rates. So so when she makes her payments on her mortgage, she's getting her equity, I'm getting mine, and it's
a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, very okay. So that's a kind of a great solution.
I'm not making any equity, and she gets all the equity.
Okay, so I'm just gonna jump in really quick. How long is your term? We know it's 3 years. How long is a typical agreement term? I would say from the deals that I've put together, that is, I'd say 2 to 5 years. A lot of the ones that we're setting up for our clients here at the Mogul team are in that 5-year mark, just because that's the length of the mortgage term. So what we're doing when we're setting up, because we're doing about 1 or 2 AFSs a month for our clients. We're basically getting the vendor to extend their term, lock it in at a 5-year, and away we go. The equity pay down doesn't make sense. If I can try articulating that one for you guys, basically they added a layer of complexity where Wayne's got a mortgage that he's paying down, and then they use an amortization calculator to create an additional loan from Gabby to Wayne that has its own pay down associated with it. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So it's kind of it's 2 mortgages operating in parallel, and
it's some people. I mean, most people think of a normal.
How come you decided to add a second calculation to the overall matrix?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said, how come you decided to add that second kind of column to the calculation matrix?
What that did is it also added an additional cash flow portion for us as well. So because my mortgage amount
there's a payment differential that creates cash flow for the vendor. Got it.
Because my mortgage is significantly less than her mortgage. I think what mine say at 230 and hers is at 400,000. They're both going down, but there's a little bit of a spread, so it adds a cash flow aspect for us.
Right. So Gabby still gets pay down, which is in her benefit. and then you get a differential which creates cash flow because you're create a solution. I applaud you guys for thinking outside the box on that one. 2 thumbs up. What would happen if the buyer could not qualify for the mortgage at the end of the term? I'll let you each answer that one because that's a hot seat question for sure.
I can, I think you want to go first, Wayne, or do you want me to go? As a buyer, I can, I guess the first thing is I'm an agent. So to me, it was one of the easiest thing. I always personally like to have a couple of the exit strategies and always consider your worst case scenario. So in theory, my worst case scenario is if I cannot qualify for the mortgage, the outstanding mortgage that I would have would be to just sell the property. The best thing is that I actually have the financials of the property performing for it to be able to, sell it. And well, obviously I know the market well enough to know what the value of the property would be. And I would have, once again, the financials to prove that the property has been cash flowing for the last 3 years. Oh, yeah. That's okay. No. It's okay. But it's a reality, right? Like another story. Maybe I should read what Gino and Tisha said. They were apologizing for saying that they didn't mean that I wouldn't qualify, but
no, it wasn't. It was more of a general question.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the biggest concerns. I guess in this case for Wayne and whatnot, of someone that, well, what happens if they cannot close when the time comes, right?
You made a great point, is that you try and work with the seller as much as possible. In a very different circumstance where the seller didn't want for it to go any longer and you are obligated to close, then it's just like a normal mortgage. And Barry could probably explain this a lot better. It's just like a normal mortgage default foreclosure. You take them to court. You never want to go that far, but that is the legal route.
Yeah. If I can chime in, I would say I'm not gonna put you guys on the hot seat and say what would happen in that scenario because that's probably more of a private conversation. But
no, it's totally normal.
The more general answer is, and this applies to renter owners as well. If you get to the end of the term and there isn't the ability to close, there's usually a conversation that happens. Sometimes an extension can happen. Everybody wants to create a win-win, so it often just results in a renegotiated short term. I'm going to end it at Bretton's question, and then I would say during our networking break, you guys can track down Gabby and Wayne in the private chat and ask them more specific questions. Does Gabby have power of attorney? Yes or no?
I don't know.
No. Well, that one's a little bit more of a complicated question.
I remember.
I wouldn't make a decision about the property at all without consulting with Wayne and Gabby. That's another thing that I guess I trusted them enough to feel confident in moving forward because it's also a big investment, like in theory, for me to go into it. So no, I don't. I do have I am on title as well. Like I have a caveat, but
yeah, that's secure your interest.
Yeah, but once again, I guess that wasn't a big worry for me, just because kind of go into business, everything.
I get it.
So, okay, the power of attorney, you don't really, you only typically get a power of attorney when there's low equity, when the seller doesn't have much skin in the game. Obviously, I have a substantial amount of equity. She also paid a deposit. Her buyer's interest caveat is just the same as the power of attorney. The only difference is the power of attorney, you can sell the property. So in the event that Gabriela wants to sell the property at the end of it, we can just sign off on it, or we can give her a power of attorney at that time.
Got it. Okay, and I'm gonna take the last question, and then we're gonna switch to our next speakers. So Breton asked, "Are you suggesting AFS to a non-investor seller? Is it a similar situation?" The short answer to that question is yes. Agreement for sales like this are very, very good options for sellers who want a price right now that is not feasible, and who are able to and willing to and comfortable willing to get the price that they want to get a little bit later. So whenever we have a listing that goes past about the 60-day mark, we actually have a conversation with our seller clients saying, "Hey guys, would you consider an agreement for sale option? It allows you to get a little bit of your cash out of the property right now. It allows you to get a higher purchase price in the future. And typically it's going to allow you to get a purchaser involved who's going to treat the property a heck of a lot nicer than a tenant because they have a vested interest in the property doing well. So it's a great option, and we approach sellers with it all the time. So with that, I'm going to say thank you so much to Wayne and Gabby. It's not every day you get to have a conversation with both sides of the same deal. You know, it's just a testament to you guys doing great business and to taking the time to create a real win-win deal. So big tip of the hat to you guys. Huge compliment for doing such an awesome deal. And very, very huge thank you for being willing to share the details of it, because I think it's great insight to see why both sides of a deal are going to get into a deal to create a true win-win.